Welcome into the PHNX Suns podcast, brought to you by our friends at the DraftKings Sportsbook app, America's top-rated sportsbook app. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and leave us a 5-star review. I'm Lindsey Smith, here with Saul Bookman, Espo and Gerald Bourget. Gentlemen, how you doing today?
I really want to find out what's America's worst-rated sportsbook app, just out of curiosity. I'm not saying we have to throw any ideas out. I just always wonder that when we say that.
Yeah, don't throw any ideas out because we might be on the move for sponsors. Just kidding, DraftKings. Just kidding.
What was the in the Vegas Vacation? What was the casino he goes to play?
I don't know.
Pick the hands. That's probably the worst.
Guess the number. Yeah. Oh, sorry, it was 2.
Yeah, of course you don't know what we're talking about.
I know what you're talking about. I just don't know the name of the casino.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about.
3 out of 4 people knew.
Today we're going to preview a potential Suns Timberwolves first round matchup. But before we get into that, some flowers to Monty Williams for being named the National Basketball Coaches Association Coach of the Year for the second year in a row. Now, just a reminder, this is not the Coach of the Year award. This is the coach's choice.
Look, this should be the Coach of the Year award, because what the hell do media members know more than Monty's contemporaries? He's 2-time now when it comes to the coaches voting it. Sorry, Lindsey, he has to borrow the nickname. But he's definitely he deserves the actual award, and the fact that his other coaches have voted him twice says everything you need to know.
He's your favorite coach of the year, basically. That's all that we need to know. That's all we need to say. He said last year that it meant a lot to him being chosen by his own peers to win this award. So I imagine it means a lot to him this year too. And he's talked a lot about how winning the actual Coach of the Year award doesn't mean as much as just the way his players reacted last year when they found out he didn't win. But this is still a cool thing for him, and hopefully it's an indicator of what the media will do, even if it wasn't last year.
It's cool until you lose 2 times in a row, and then you're like, WTF? You know? And the one thing that I'm not going to dwell on the negative, but the one thing that does bother me about the narrative around Monty Williams is the preseason expectation was exceeded, but yet somehow he didn't meet the expectation to be the best coach in the league. I don't understand that. Mm-hmm. I'm glad that the coaches do understand that, because they understand how difficult this is. Even if you have a loaded roster, you still have to coach them. And we've seen so many instances of good teams, or at least on paper, really good teams fall apart. Lakers. And so you got to reward coaches that actually come through with great talent on their roster, like Monty Williams.
Just wait till next year, where he improves by another 10 games. They win 74, and there's an argument that he's not coached.
They improved by 13 last year. And actually, we talked about how they were only the second team to improve by 10 wins 3 straight years. They're the only team ever to do it by 11 wins over 3 straight years.
So you're saying 75 next year?
I'm not saying that.
Just wait till he wins 74 and he doesn't have Devin Booker or CP3 all year long, and they still are like, nah, not good enough.
I think my biggest beef right now with this conversation is I see so many people on the internet being like, I don't care about any of these awards. The only thing I care about is the championship at the end of the year and hoisting the Larry O'Brien trophy and yada, yada, yada. And while, yes, I understand that sentiment, if you care about Monty, if you care about these players as people, you should care about these awards because these awards hold value as far as literal dollars for some of them. Mm-hmm. And you would want guys who you're rooting for night in and night out, who you want to win you a championship for your favorite team, to also get the things that they deserve and the paydays they deserve by winning some of these awards. So you can simultaneously care more about a championship while also still caring about the recognition that the players who are actually doing the work getting that award and that recognition.
I totally agree with that. And I also think that they need to modify this to a degree in terms of who's voting, how many times have they voted. And like, let's be real, there's a very real East Coast bias. We saw that last year in Coach of the Year for no reason. You have a team that didn't even make the playoffs the year before, all of a sudden shoot up to the number 2 seed, and everybody wanted to credit Chris Paul and basically not give Monty the credit that he deserved. And then they do it again in back-to-back years, and even better. Like, you got to reward that effort along with the all NBA teams and, and all the, defensive player of the year awards and stuff like that. Like, those are tied to bonuses, and I don't really agree with that, but it is what it is. And people need to start realizing that this affects money, and you need to vote with your head, not your heart. And you need to do your homework. You need to watch all these teams play. You can't just be a Knicks beat reporter and have a vote in the MVP race and never watch a Suns game. Like, that's bullshit.
It bothers me, that mentality that you mentioned, because it's a 16-win sprint in the playoffs, right? Mm-hmm. But Monty and the Suns also went through the 82-game marathon and proved it. And that's what those awards are for, is the effort put forth in those 82 games. And they deserve to be recognized for that too. Championship is obviously the ultimate goal, but they deserve accolades for the effort that they put in and what they were able to accomplish in those 82 games.
Right. I think you can acknowledge the fact that if they do get shut out in awards, if Monty loses Coach of the Year or if Mikhail doesn't win Defensive Player of the Year, these sickos might just rattle off 16 straight wins for the hell of it in response, and that'd be great. But a season like this does deserve to be remembered. It does deserve that recognition because it's the greatest season that they've ever had in franchise history. They're one of only a handful of teams to ever win 64 games in a season at all. It would be a pity if, especially after Monty was robbed last year, he doesn't get that recognition this year, especially when everyone else around him, his own peers, recognize the work that he puts in and how good he is at his job.
Are we embracing the Sickos nickname, by the way?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's the new fellas.
All right. I'm okay with that.
I also, just to kind of put a bow on it, I think while awards may not mean as much to all of us around the team, like the fan base and everything, it does mean something to the people who are actually the ones in the running for these awards. Mm-hmm. And you have to remember that, like, people should be awarded things when they do great work. Mm-hmm. Like, it may not mean anything to us 10 years down the road, but I guarantee you Mikhail will still look at that trophy or that thing that he accomplished out his career with pride. And he should be allowed to have that.
Imagine remember how happy we were all just to win a Sunny, and we're just like sitting in a booth shooting the shit on Twitter.
How many people have Sunnies in their bios still? Like, it means something to you.
Imagine actually working hard, putting in the effort, playing in these games. Like, it means something to them.
What's it like to win a Sunny?
It was cool, man.
It was cool.
Did you not win a Sunny?
I've never won a Sunny.
You never won a Sunny? No. You guys didn't win Sunnies?
No.
I thought you did last year.
No, I got honorable mention, but
gotcha.
I didn't even get that. So.
Well, yeah, better step your games up. It's almost there. I'm just kidding. All right, any final
Two-time Sunny winner over here.
I think she's a 4-time Sunny winner, isn't she?
Everybody loves Lindsey. She's going to get one whether she's on a show or not.
That's not true.
She won last year. True. She didn't even watch Sunday.
I know,
she just
right?
sat at home.
She was
and
stuck.
They're like, oh, Lindsey gets a Sunny.
She was still stuck in the transformation center. They're like, Sunny, there it is. Got it.
That deserves an award. Thank you very much.
Anyway. I still like to imagine part of your soul is stuck at the transformation center.
It is. I lost a part of me.
Oh, no.
All right, now on to the Timberwolves. They finished the regular season with a 46-36 record. The Suns went 3-0 against them for the sweep this season. In y'all's opinion, what are some reasons the Suns will win a first-round series against the Timberwolves, should they meet?
They're just better on both ends of the floor. I mean, and offensively, it's not as big of a gap as it is defensively. Offensively, the Suns were number 5 in net rating. Wolves are number 7, and the Wolves have been the best team offensively since January 1st. But defensively, this Suns team really shines. We know that. We know what Mikal Bridges is able to do. They were the 3rd best defense in the league, and the Wolves were 13th. That's going to be the separation here, is the Suns defense should be able to stop a potent Wolves offense, and I think that's why the Suns will win this, which feels very odd as a Suns fan to say defense is why this team's going to win something.
It's been their hallmark all season long.
Yeah.
It's been the defense. And when they haven't played locked-in defense, they've gotten a little bit of exposed, especially when other teams are shooting so well from the perimeter. And this is one of those teams that if you F around, you're going to find out like just how good they are. Cat is playing probably the best basketball he's played in his career, especially down the stretch. And then you add in everybody else like D'Angelo Russell and then the annoyance on the other end of the court. We won't even mention his name, but the Suns are the overall better team. They should, in my estimation, they should sweep. But I wouldn't be surprised if this game went 5 or 6 games, or this series went 5 or 6 games.
Yeah, and we'll talk about some of the things that they bring to the table as far as what makes them dangerous or a trickier opponent than you would typically expect from an 8 seed. But the big thing is they play really fast, but they also make a lot of mistakes playing at that high speed. They're 21st in turnovers, and the Suns are pretty good at racking up steals and converting. And when they do play defense, like we've talked about, their hallmark, and are able to then turn that into offense, there's nobody in the NBA that can stop them when it's connected like that, when the game flows that way. So as much as the Timberwolves like to get up and down, it could come back to hurt them in a series like this that turns into a track meet because they're not good at taking care of the ball, and they are very inexperienced. We talk about Pat Beverly. I think he's played like 59 playoff games. The next highest guy, I think, is Malik Beasley with 14. Yeesh. So, like, nobody on this roster really has substantial playoff experience outside of those guys. And I'm sorry, but Pat Beverly and Malik Beasley are not going to win you a series against the Suns team.
Well, and that
hurt somebody.
That does make a big difference, though, because you have to have that's where the veteran presence kind of comes into play the most, I feel like, is being able to keep guys calm, cool, and collected in these really intense and high anxiety type of moments. The Suns have been through it now. So they have the guys behind them who can help bring somebody down a little bit if they're getting a little out of control. Where on the Timberwolves side of things, like, it could just go off the rails very easily and quickly if they don't have somebody in that position,
Well, and we saw that in the last Suns Timberwolves matchup. I mean, Timberwolves got off to that hot start, and they did kind of go off the rails. You had Cat do the little man sign. You had some guys chirping, and where a team without that veteran leadership goes off the rails with that, the Suns look at it and go, okay, we're using that as motivation. You've now pissed us off, and we're going to channel that energy in a positive way to get this win. That was a very distinct way to see that difference between these two teams in their last matchup.
All right, guys, X factors in this one. What are your thoughts?
I mean, for me, the X factor is the Suns defense. I'm not even going to go with the Timberwolves, because if you look at the history of the 1 versus 8 matchup, all right, the teams that have done well against the number 1 seed have been largely very, very good defensively or could score at such an insane rate. You look at the Denver Nuggets when they faced the Sonics. They had Dikembe Mutombo, that was the anchor on that defensive side. They were able to upset the Sonics, who were a better offensive team, but against those Nuggets, they just found the right place at the right time. And then the Warriors in 2007 upsetting the Mavericks, again, defensively, but then you had 2 dudes in Baron Davis and Steven Jackson that just caused havoc all over the place and really disrupted the Mavs. So when you look at that and you look at this Suns team, defensively, they are stronger than the Timberwolves. And I don't care what time of year it is. I don't care what time of day it is. If you have the better defense, typically you're going to win in the playoffs, because offense doesn't win in the playoffs. It's defensively, can you hold your own? And the Suns, that's the X factor for the Suns.
Yeah, for me, and I think I'm going to sound like a broken record in a lot of these playoff previews, but DeAndre Ayton is an X factor here. There's not many guys that can go toe-to-toe with Karl Anthony Towns and in some cases actually get the better of him, not just meet him, but get the better of him. That's what you need from DeAndre Ayton on both ends of the floor. And I think DeAndre Ayton's defense will be a linchpin in this series, in particular against Karl Anthony Towns, but his switchability as well.
I definitely agree with that, because outside of DA, the shooting that Cat brings to the table is different than a lot of the centers that the Suns would face in the playoffs. And if he gets in foul trouble or something like that, their options, JaVale McGee is not a guy that you want out on the perimeter guarding him there. So then it quickly turns into Bismack Biyombo. So you've seen the way that Ayton's played against this team this year in 2 games. I think he averaged like almost 28 points a game or something like that. He takes this matchup personally, so that's a big one. Mine is turnovers and tempo, because the Timberwolves force the second most turnovers in the NBA. They're third in steals, third in blocks, and first in points off turnovers. So having Chris Paul and a team that doesn't turn the ball over a lot, that's going to be huge, especially when you've got guys like Jared Vanderbilt and Patrick Beverley, getting up in your jersey trying to force those turnovers. So they need to stay composed, run their offense the way that they do, and not let, the Timberwolves are number 1 in pace, and they're the number 1 offense since the start of the calendar year. So they've been playing at a frantic pace, getting up a lot of points, turning a lot of defense into offense. If you just stay even keel, you'll be able to out-execute this younger team.
I agree with that last point. That's going to be something that I think is an X factor in this game. We saw it a couple games back against the Timberwolves where there was a little bit of trash talk back and forth. And like you mentioned, the Timberwolves kind of fell apart after that. It got chaotic. The Suns were like, we're going to take this. We're going to use this as fuel. And then the Timberwolves were like, this is making us fall apart. Like, this is burning our house down, essentially. Like, one was building up and the other was crumbling. So I think that's going to be the biggest X factor, in the sense that, like, if we can find a way maybe to poke the bear a little bit, to cause a little bit of that chaos amongst the Timberwolves, while on our side simultaneously just being like, yeah, we're chill. We got this.
It won't take much to get under Pat Bev's skin, because he's going to think that he's doing it to you. And there's some teams that will falter. But when you have Devin Booker and Chris Paul, they've seen it, they've done it. They're just, and they saw it last year in the highest of levels in the Western Conference Finals, and it still didn't really faze them so much. So I think this year they would be prepared for this and probably be ready for it. And honestly, for Devin Booker, I think he would be looking forward to it, because he just wants to stick it to Pat Bev.
Well, I think, too, one storyline we're going to hear a lot of, if this is the matchup, is the Devin Booker friends with Karl Anthony Towns, D'Angelo Russell, right? Which I actually think is to Devin's benefit, because absolutely. Devin don't give a crap about your friendship when you get between the lines, right?
Don't give a crap.
He just does not care, where those other guys I think might. Yeah. I mean, because when Devin dunked on D'Angelo Russell, supposedly he said something about, I don't have no friends, like, and went at him, right?
That's so cool.
I would text him after the game and be like, really, bro? That one hurt.
But see, then he knows he's got you, because that's what he's doing. He doesn't care when you're up against each other. But Karl Anthony Towns strikes me as a guy, even though he's got the tough guy facade now because of Pat Beverley, that he does care. And D'Angelo Russell seems like he cares. Devin Booker is going to give no shits. He's just going to go out there and rip your heart out.
I think 3 of the Suns' big 4 would have very significant reasons, because like you're talking about with Booker, when it comes to his friends, if anything, that makes it worse, because he wants to beat you even more. With Chris Paul, he remembers getting shoved in the back by Pat Bev at the end of that Clippers series. And for DA, he takes that matchup personally, because he's seen the talk about being traded for Cat from Suns fans and from people around the Valley over the last few years. And every time he goes up against elite bigs, he elevates his game. Nikola Jokic, Rudy Gobert, like all of these guys, Joel Embiid, all these guys that are hailed as, the best big in the NBA, he takes that shit personally and he plays like it. So that's why he was able to win the regular season matchups against Cat.
All right, let's hear from a special guest for more on the Wolves.
Welcome in, everybody. We are here with longtime Timberwolves writer and ESPN or 1500 ESPN radio affiliate, Derek James. Derek, how are you doing today?
Doing good. How are you guys?
Doing great.
Great to have you. I appreciate it. I'm just going to ask this because you're in Minnesota and we're here. How's the weather out there? Because we were just 92 degrees here, and we always hear how crappy the weather is in Minnesota. How is it right now?
Well, so I actually haven't been in Minnesota since 2020. That's why I moved to Portland, and now I'm in Salt Lake City. We actually got hammered by snow yesterday, but I see people, family, friends posting from Minneapolis about how it was 60 degrees yesterday. And I'm extremely jealous that there's even that nice little respite. But I guess being down there, there's no such thing. It's already summer there.
You could have totally lied to me, looking at your iPhone app and been like, it's 63 in Minneapolis today. And I would have bought it. I appreciate it, man.
Oh, that's great. Derek, let's dive right in. Obviously, the last Suns Timberwolves matchup was a pretty heated and fun affair, I think, for both teams and fan bases. But what should Suns fans who aren't as familiar with this Timberwolves team know about them?
Yeah, this team they're really interesting, especially in this last half of the season since January. I mean, I think I looked like January 11th and they were 20-22. Kind of didn't seem like they're heading the right direction, but they've really turned it on since then, this last half. They're a very scrappy team. They have a lot of will. This isn't, one of those teams, where you could eventually just, keep kicking at them and then they'll just lie down. They really have a lot of resiliency there. And it's, I think part of that too is just looking at someone like Patrick Beverley, who's been on winning teams and, can, look those other guys in the room and be like, come on and, knock some heads together if he has to. So there's definitely that spirit and that attitude there, and it seems like everyone's bought into Chris Finch. So, and I mean, that's just in addition to the talent that's on this team now, where there's actually you have more talent than you have in recent years, and a stronger culture. You're definitely gonna put a more competitive product on the floor.
Do Timberwolves fans really like Pat Beverley?
So my theory on Patrick Beverley is that he's one of those guys where you don't really like him until he's on your team.
Yep.
Especially when you have, this Timberwolves team in particular for years has had problems with opposing teams picking on even their stars and nothing happening. Look at the dust ups with Joel Embiid and Karl Anthony Towns, and there was no recourse or anything. Not advocating for fighting, but it's nice to have that agitator who gets under someone else's skin for a change.
When you look at the play-in matchup, obviously matching up with the Clippers first, how do you feel? How do you feel the Clippers the Timberwolves matchup? Easy enough for me to say. How do the Timberwolves match up with the Clippers? Is what I'm trying to get at here.
Yeah, it's really an interesting one to say, because you can look back at the first three matchups when Paul George played, but those were all in a 10-day stretch in November. So these teams have been through so much since then. The Timberwolves, I feel like, have really grown as a team since then. Paul George has missed a significant stretch and come back. And then when they met a few weeks ago, Karl Anthony Towns didn't play, Paul George didn't play. So I don't think we really know a ton about how exactly these teams will match up, since both teams are in such different places. Really just it's just so hard to tell what's going to come of this, because there were so many nights where it's one team just made shots, the other didn't, and we don't have the talent there. That's always tough. But I think you really need assertive Anthony Edwards, Minnesota, especially when Paul George is back, and Karl Anthony Towns. This is his moment. To be that guy he's taken over games at time, and this is really the big one there. And so I think contending with Paul George, that really makes us a very different Clippers team. Had he not come back till after the play-in, or until the games later in the week, it would have been a very different feel. But this definitely feels like a big game now, and I think that matchup with Paul George is the one that sticks out to me.
In keeping with that theme of kind of key players and matchups, the Timberwolves they have Towns, and like you said, this is his moment, and there's that kind of juicy DeAndre Ayton matchup. But is there any key player on the Timberwolves or matchup that you look at in a potential series with the Suns that you feel should be highlighted in that kind of matchup?
Yeah, I mean, the 8-1 stuck out to me that last matchup with the Suns, and it just seemed like the Wolves were able to keep with them. But, if you can't keep DeAndre Ayton from going, for 35 and what did he have, 14 rebounds, as Devin Booker has 28 and 7, like you're just not going to have that much success there. So you really got to limit those, other guys from going out and getting theirs. Which is, it's really tough to do. And I think it's really going to test the Timberwolves. And it's, I think, you can look at it and be like, well, D'Angelo Russell, needs to play well. There was that game in Boston, when, and the Celtics just kept coming and, D'Angelo Russell, it's not his best night, even though I've generally liked how he's played under Chris Finch. But I mean, you're going against Chris Paul, in these big moments there. But, you really got to look at it like, I think, at least I do, what are you going to get from, the Jared Vanderbilts? How is the bench going to play? Is Malik Beasley going to do, the smart things, or is, he just, going to be a gunner? So there are a lot of things there where we're going to find out a lot about, how well this Timberwolves team can play, like the sum of its parts. And I think, I think that's one thing that the Suns do really well. Like they're, in that rotation, especially that shortened playoff rotation, there aren't a lot of gaps. I mean, like those guys all know their roles, and I think and the Timberwolves are still learning, who they are, even though they've improved.
I'm not sure D'Angelo Russell has recovered from Devin Booker dunking on him and yelling at him yet either. We'll find out. But when you look at not only I want 3 predictions here, or 2, depending on how many games you think they're going to play. Where do the Wolves stack up in the play-in situation? And if they were to face the Suns in that 1-8 matchup, who do you think comes out victorious?
So I went over on the Timberwolves is under this year. So I will stick with that and say that, they've even exceeded those expectations. So I'll stick with them tonight. I think they still have the inside track in this. They're at home. They kind of look at it like a game 7, and home teams tend to do very well in game 7. So I mean, I would expect the Timberwolves to come out strong tonight. I would have also thought, a week ago when they were playing the Wizards and they had a chance still for the 6th seed, that they would have done better. And there's that really flat effort. But I don't anticipate that being the case tonight. I really get the sense that they'll come out knowing that, like, hey, like you've had the 7th seed for so much of the season now, and you can't let it go at this point in the season. So I would expect them to take this one. I think, man, like I was watching a little bit of the Grizzlies and, looking at some of the previous Suns matchups with the Timberwolves and stuff. And it would just be such a different series with the Grizzlies, where you feel like, well, yeah, maybe they could take a game or two, because they were just so competitive and they were really decided late, based on a couple possessions. They're very competitive games, even though I think that the Grizzlies are still the better team. But in the Suns, I mean, if they got 1, I think that would be pretty strong. I think you feel good about that. But I think, they played them competitively. But I think they'll see too, that the Suns team has been so much deeper in the playoffs. And there's, this interesting wrinkle of the friendship between Towns and I think Russell and Booker, and how that all plays out and just the different experiences they've had in their careers so far. So it's kind of interesting that group, could potentially run into each other, given how different that their careers have gone. And I mean, just how much, what Devin Booker has done and become is honestly really just amazing. I think in the last few seasons that, my opinion on him has done for pretty hard 180. And it's just, I think that, those guys might see like, what happens, when you get these reps in these high stakes games and, when the intensity is dialed up. I mean, I think, hopefully it's more than just good experience. But if it was Suns Wolves, I would just hope for, 4 or 5 competitive games. I think, anything more than that would just be a little bit surprising.
Well, if it makes you feel better, a lot of people's opinions on Devin Booker did a 180. And also the Timberwolves #1 offense in the NBA since the calendar season. So it would definitely be a fun and up-tempo series, that's for sure. Derek, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate having you on.
Yeah, Derek, enjoy that Minnesota weather via Salt Lake City.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks.
The NBA playoffs mean next level basketball. Get ready for the action by betting the play-in tournament with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. New customers can bet $5 on any team to win and get $150 in free bets instantly. you're going to clinch a win no matter what. Also, don't forget that all DraftKings customers can bet on NBA hoops with same-game parlays. And right now, for each day of the play-in, get a risk-free bet up to $10 if your same-game parlay does not hit. So right now, go download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use the promo code PHNX when signing up. Bet $5 on any NBA team to win their game during the play-in tournament and get $150 in free bets instantly. That is promo code PHNX at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Just a reminder, that's 21 and older, only Arizona, only gambling problem. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. New customers only, minimum $5 minimum deposit. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details.
Hey, who are you taking tonight? The Clippers or Timberwolves? Yes or no?
Yes.
Shout out.
Michaela.
We had a little typo on our Instagram stories earlier today.
But seriously, though, who?
Who am I taking? I'm taking the Timberwolves tonight.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm probably taking... no, I'm going to take the Clippers.
Same.
We'll do it.
I'm trying to have a reverse jinx here. So, because I don't want the Clippers.
I just hope both teams have a bad time.
A bad time. Damn, okay.
Was that too harsh?
Is that injuries galore? What is
No.
That's fun.
I didn't mean that far. Just, not an enjoyable game. That's all. That's all I'm saying. All right, back to the Suns and the Timberwolves. Potential problems. What are some areas that we need to be aware of, maybe concerned about a smidge?
Watch your back. Watch your back.
That's
Turn
what I'm
your back
saying.
on
Watch
Pat
your
Bev.
back. That dirty Pat Bev. He's going to cheap shot you.
He plays really hard defense on Book when they do face each other in a game, and that does concern me a little bit.
Yeah, Pat Bev is, I don't want to call him a dirty player, but he's dirty-ish. And he tries to get away with some cheap shots that he tries to play off as just innocent happenstance. That's my main concern, is that he's going to fuck around and hurt somebody, and I don't like that at all.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously a concern anytime you face Pat Bev. I mean, he has a track record of it. But for me, if you're looking at the Timberwolves as a whole and what could lead to potentially them taking a game or two, it's got to be that they're three-point shooting. They're a very good three-point shooting team. They are 12th, but they take the most in the NBA. Source Gerald Bourguet's article earlier today on GoPHNX.com. But so that concerns me, because that's been an issue for the Suns team, is when they, in particular, give up those corner threes at a high pace and the team gets on fire. If the Wolves are willing to take that many, there's a chance that they make a crazy amount in a single game, and that could be enough to beat the Suns in one game out of a 7-game series.
Yeah, I was like, we've talked about how they're the number one offense. This is the start of the calendar year, how they turn defense into offense, how they play at a fast pace, shoot a lot of threes. But part of that, shooting a ton of threes is also their 7th in offensive rebounding percentage and 5th in second chance points. So this type of series is one that, it's not your typical 1-8 matchup. I still think the Suns would take care of business against this team. But they are a team that would kind of test the Suns in a couple of key areas where we want to see them perform well in the playoffs, the offensive rebounding thing, defending the 3-point line, and then the free throw thing. The Wolves are also top 10 in free throw rate, so they do get to the foul line a lot. So if they're a team that's playing really fast but also getting to the foul line, that's one that will test the Suns defense in a way that your kind of typical 8 seed might not do that.
Zhu in the chat says, I hope the shot clock wins tonight and the game doesn't last longer than midnight.
I would agree with that.
I also, when you look at it, I worry about that offensive rebounding in particular could rear its ugly head for this team, and we've seen that happen far too many times already this season, where they just can't stop the other team from getting those extra shots. That's troubling. Very troubling.
Yeah, and that's Jared Vanderbilt killed him on the boards. And I also want to shout out a comment. Scott Foster is officiating tonight's game, so he will be the deciding factor. Someone tweeted a stat that Clippers games, I think when it's Scott Foster and Ed Malloy, when Clippers are officiated by those two, they're either second or third in free throw rate, and the Timberwolves are 27th and 29th.
Whew.
So that's a pretty big gap between those two officials. So just something to keep an eye on in case the Clippers get to the line like 40 times.
Yes, but in theory, none of us want to face the Clippers out of this group, it seems like.
Right.
So by helping the Clippers, he'd be helping Chris Paul. So I don't know how that works because Scott Foster hates to do anything that makes Chris Paul's path easier. So.
Very true.
It's a real Sophie's choice for Scott Foster.
He doesn't know what to do.
At this point, can the NBA just encourage him to retire?
No.
And I say encourage very generously.
They love some Scott Foster.
The mob would not allow that for Scott Foster.
Drives me nuts.
Allegedly.
Before we get into predictions and some fun stuff, any final thoughts on this potential series?
We brought up youth early on.
Mm-hmm.
I actually think that could be a benefit and a downfall for the Wolves because irrational confidence, right? The Wolves have a 23-game turnaround this year.
Mm-hmm.
So they obviously are believing in themselves. They were 46 and 36. They almost snuck into that 6th seed, not even in the play-in. I think youth and not knowing what you don't know could help this team, right? They could go out there and just think that they're better than they are and play up to that, up to their competition. Where we all, we talked about, they could implode. They also could play above their ceiling because they don't know better. And we've seen that before.
I could see that for a couple games. I don't think I could see that for 4 games against the Suns. But I get what you're saying, absolutely.
Yeah, and we've seen it firsthand, but I think that type of thing it'd fly against a similarly younger team like the Grizzlies in a first-round matchup. If they get that 7 seed, maybe that's a little more interesting. But I think the Suns have just been in this position so much that they just know what to do.
I'm not going to lie. T-Wolves Grizz would be a pretty interesting first-round matchup.
Be fun.
That would be fun. That would be fun.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right. Traveling Girth. Best and worst parts about having to go to Minnesota.
Please be nice if my girlfriend watches.
Okay, for me, basically all it is the weather, because I feel like it's still going to be kind of cold, which could be a pro or a con depending on how you look at it.
It's a con.
And then a positive would be that your girlfriend's from there, so in theory, maybe you can visit with her family.
That's why he wants to go back to Minnesota. Go ahead. You have something?
I think that's a negative. Distractions. We can't have Gerald distracted, all right?
Gerald, you're there to work, and that's it. How dare you have a life outside of this job?
This is an important first-round matchup. You can't be distracted.
You both cannot go purify yourselves in the waters of Lake Minnetonka, okay? You have to focus on the task at hand.
I appreciate a good Dave Chappelle reference. I feel like it'd be fun to be there again because Minnesota was actually very beautiful when I went, but that was in August, which was like the perfect time to go. I don't know how cold it is there, but she said it was snowing there the other week, so I was like, that seems questionable.
I looked the other day for as far out as my weather app would show me, and I think it was like 40s, 50s, so it's not like freezing cold, but it's also not bad.
Yeah, that's manageable at least.
Yeah, it could still be nice.
A positive. Mall of America. Big food court. Cheap food, also, which is good for our budget.
There's a really good bar literally right across the street from the arena that has music and stuff.
Because as we know, Lindsey does not travel past outside of the arena very far.
That's not true. I go at least a mile. A mile is my limit.
From the arena or from your hotel room?
From the hotel, and the hotel we stayed at was right across the street from the arena.
There we go.
Same thing.
Well, that's good for me.
That bar was in the hotel that Lindsey stayed at. So.
That's perfect. Save me money on lifts and stuff.
Exactly. If you stay next to the arena, it's walkable with a lot of food, shops, bars, things of that sort.
Exactly.
So, there you go. All right. Good luck, Gerald, if you have to go to Minnesota. We are rooting for you to handle that weather and the distractions well. We've got predictions coming up next and a surprise from Saul. So stay with us. But first, I want to tell you guys that OG's is one of Arizona's first scratch-made cannabis kitchens and is dedicated to creating innovative and memorable cannabis-infused products that flavor life's journey. Their orange creamsicle gummy tastes like a dream. It's like the ice cream truck coming through your neighborhood, but instead of ice cream, it's a really bomb gummy. We've heard.
I really hope that there's not like an ice cream
We
truck
almost got a spit take from Saul.
I don't know if this is like a fake ad read or a real ad read at this point. Because
what kind of music do they play?
I don't know, but the next line is that we've heard from our girl Mac and our boy Saul that they enjoy the orange creamsicle indica gummy after a long days of shows here. So
where's Mac had a long day of shows? Multiple. Wait, why did Max write this?
I don't know. Don't ask me. That's just what's written down on
Max
my paper.
Was Max on OGs when he was writing this?
No.
Max is like, it's like one of those windowless vans driving through your neighborhood. Like, what?
Well, we're both Arizona brands, so let's show them some love as well. If you're interested in trying the amazingly delicious variety of flavors that OG's Brands has to offer, go to ogsbrands.com. That's OGEEZ brands.com to find OGs near you. I also want to remind you guys that children 5 and older are eligible for the COVID-19 vaccine. The vaccine is the best tool we have to reduce the chances of getting sick with COVID-19. The vaccine can reduce the risk of being hospitalized or dying from the disease. Safe, free, and highly effective COVID-19 vaccines are available throughout Arizona. Visit azhealth.gov/find vaccines for a location near you.
If you want more kids to get shots, just have a windowless van running down the street.
Too far.
If you're nervous about your shot, take an edible before you go.
There you go.
That?
Perfect.
How about that?
Perfect.
Dear God.
Pot and shots.
We are not doctors.
Yeah, thank you, Lee.
Hey, I went to college for 8 years, all right?
Okay.
OG's is local, which is cool. You always got to support local. So I'm a big fan of that.
I'm still kind of curious if you were wondering.
Yeah.
Predictions. What do you guys think? How many will this go?
I'm pretty sure OG's, my prediction is they yell at us for that last ad.
Probably.
That's my prediction.
Suns in 5. If they have to play the Wolves, Suns in 5.
Bust out the brooms.
Oh.
Let's go sweeping.
Okay.
I'm going to go gentleman's sweep. I'm going to say Suns in 5.
Okay. I was on the fence between 5 and 6 with this one. So I feel like since I went 6 with the Clippers, I'm going to go 5 with this one.
Okay.
Just to play in our favor.
So we all agree this would be a relatively quick series. As much as the Timberwolves might challenge them,
yeah,
they're still an 8 seed. And
like
the Suns
it would be
1.
entertaining, challenging games, but I think the Suns would come out with the W more than not, obviously, of course.
I agree.
Yeah, I feel like that's the case with all these 1-8 matchups. You may have moments where you're challenged, but this Suns team is a superior team like they've been all year. So I think it's pretty across the board they take care of business. So.
All right, before we say goodbye, Saul apparently has a surprise for us. I'm very concerned.
Yes, listen.
I'm always concerned when Saul says, hey, I got a surprise, guys.
The other day I was a little, me and the wifey went to H Mart. And if you don't know what that is an Asian supermarket. And as I was going through, I was like, oh, you know what I've always wanted to do? I've always wanted to pull some random, edible thing and have everybody try it on the show.
Okay.
And so I came across this.
Random edible thing. A phrase I don't usually like to hear.
I don't know how I feel about this. Okay.
In the words of our sponsors, OGs.
So on the back it says yogurt drink strawberry flavor.
Yes,
this
that's what it says. I don't know if it's actually true, but we're all gonna try it and see.
How do you get this open?
So you got twist, the twist top.
It includes artificial flavor.
Yeah,
and guar gum. All right.
And then the nipple just comes out.
So like it's a legit bottle, you guys. Like this.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if this is meant for children.
I thought I broke the nipple.
I don't know.
But there's a legitimate bottle in it.
So you obvioly have to pop this thing
off. It smells good.
Can I just drink it without the nipple, or is that part of it?
Saul wants maximum
this is just getting you ready for whenever your friends all start having baby showers, and like this is a game you have to play.
There you go.
So how do you get this open?
I think you gotta twist it.
Well, you twist the top part off, but I don't know how to.
But I can't get it off.
I'm having problem. Never mind. I'm not gonna say what I was about to say.
Oh no, I got it.
How do you get it off?
Okay, so you twist this back on.
The audio version of the show is very uncomfortable.
We're all trying to figure out how to get the nipple out of the cup.
That didn't help, Saul.
Oh,
that really didn't.
Okay, just for some clarification.
Oh,
when
you
Saul
just take this part off. You don't twist it.
There
you
it
don't
is.
twist it.
It won't.
There it is.
Mine won't.
Yeah. I got you.
Just to clarify, because I feel like we've got some comments being like, should have taken this at the beginning so we can see the facts. These are not edibles.
No.
Yeah, these are.
It is an edible item.
Yeah, yogurt drink by OGs. It has a nipple on it
Saul
too.
meant when he was saying he wanted to find something that was edible at a store, like something we could actually eat, not
this is like
edible.
it's like a strawberry yogurt.
Strawberry yogurt drink.
It looks
with
good.
a nipple on it.
I feel like I don't want to do this on camera, so I'm gonna hide my face.
Oh my god.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, go.
I go.
I wasn't expecting it to make the sound that it did.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
Have you not been around baby bottles?
This is actually really
No.
good,
It's really good.
It is, but it's really
It's
awkward
very sweet.
drinking out of a baby bottle.
The sound in the headset is unreal.
Can you hear it?
What does it sound like?
Exactly what you think.
Oh no! Don't do that. Don't do that.
We gotta
God.
give our podcast listeners some
Why are
entertainment.
you
They're not getting the visual.
You're not a calf suckling at the teats? Jesus Christ, Espo.
You wanted embarrassment. I'm giving you embarrassment.
Oh my god.
Oh, Vay.
Pinky's
I'm
out.
actually pleasantly surprised.
This
it's
is actually
pretty bomb.
really good. I'm not even gonna lie.
The thing is that like they're sort of room temperature right now, but if you put these in the fridge for a while and they were really cold, it's essentially
Pinky's
strawberry milk, but it has a little bit more of a yogurty taste to it.
Pinky's
Gerald's
out.
got pinkies up.
warm room temperature yogurt.
Did they have any other
That's what
flavors?
everybody-
Yeah,
I
if
feel
it
like
was
a
colder, it
mango
probably
would
would
be
have been
bomb.
They had
better. But
banana.
it's not bad.
They had mango.
Banana milk is bomb.
Dude, banana milk.
It's
for the
really
win.
good.
You know what I like about this too is like
It's glass.
it's glass. It's a little thicker, so it's not like the banana milk is a little too thin for me. I don't like that. I like a thicker consistency.
Saul doesn't like his bananas thin.
So yeah.
Oh boy,
This is good.
Gerald.
this is one of the weirder things I've ever.
Listen, it's good. It's just the delivery method is weird with it being a bottle.
But yeah, who like?
I think it must be for kids.
You could just
Maybe
do
it's
it
for
with,
baby.
You could just do it without the passive or the whatever it's called. I'm not gonna say nipple.
Yeah.
again.
Well, you just
You just
did.
said. I'm not gonna say that word. Damn it.
That's fine. This is
All
fine.
right. Well,
Thank
This
you
was
for entertaining
tasty.
my.
Yeah, no,
I
this is good.
have other treats that I can bring in another day. but-
Where is the H Mart that you went to?
H Mart is out in Mesa. It's right off of Dobson and Broadway.
is it the one next to the crab place, like the seafood place,
Ooh, I don't.
or there's a nail?
There was a corn dog place right next door to it, which was awesome.
If H Mart is the one that I'm thinking about that I go to often, let me just put you on game. There's some scissors there that have a red handle. Best scissors I've ever purchased in my entire life.
What?
That is the
I
most
know-
bizarre.
I know that is the
The
weirdest
scissors
thing
had a
ever.
nipple too. We don't know why, but they did.
I know it is the weirdest thing ever. I randomly bought a pair of scissors just because I needed a pair of scissors, and I started using them, and I was like, these scissors are so freaking amazing. So every time I'm in Mesa, we stop there and get more scissors.
You know what I like is
How many pairs of scissors do you need?
Like
you.
7. Like they all have different things because they're for food too.
They all
So you
have
have
different
food
things.
specific scissors, and then
Ah,
you have
yes.
scissors for other
Fetch
things.
me the food scissors.
food scissors now. That's how I like to imagine Lindsay live. She just sits summoning. Get me my scissors. No, not those. The food scissors, please.
Am I just saying that to myself?
They're just two
basically?
I
steak
assume
knives
you have
taped together.
butlers, right? You don't have butlers with that?
I am my own butler. I just pretend that I'm a different person apparently when I talk to myself.
Use those scissors to cut this segment. Tizdu said.
I'd like to imagine Saul trying to explain to his wife while they're at H Mart. No, I really need the nipple milk, the nipple yogurt.
Oh no, she knew it. She knew it. As soon as I saw it, she was like, "Go ahead. I know you want to give it to those guys." I'm like, "Yeah, I do want to give them all nipples." So here we are,
Oh my god.
and they're all drinking out of a nipple.
Okay, I think
Thank you
it's
for
time
that,
to say
Saul.
goodbye. Thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate you as always. You can follow me on Twitter at Lindsey Smith AZ. You can follow Saul at Saul_Bookman. You can follow Gerald at Gerald Bourget. And of course, you can follow Espo at Espo. Espo, take us home.
Remember. Ahoy, hoy.
My God.
PHNX. Hey yo, my lifestyle is retro. Tell the Phoenix Metro. Megas in control and he ain't never gonna let go. PHNX though, Lindsey, Gerald, Espo. Saul pass the ball, we here to turn up the tempo. Got to understand me, I'll always rep the family. Rally